Hello from Seoul, South Korea. My name is Chae. I'm a Korean calligrapher and director of type design and research at Design 210, a Korean type foundry in Seoul.
Hi, my name is Jisoo Kim, and I'm a type designer and researcher at Design 210. Our presentation today is called Unearthing the Roots of Hangul, Korean woodblock type and their digital revivals. First of all, we want to talk a little bit about our type foundry, Design 210. We currently have the largest collection of Korean fonts in South Korea. We also worked with various corporate clients on award-winning custom typeface projects. We specialize in unique and trendy display typefaces that are used a lot in Korean TV programs and variety shows, where dynamic typography is an essential element. We continuously try to challenge the boundaries of Korean type design and try to put out something that hasn't been done before. Like these examples, we are constantly trying various ways of designing Korean type. But the project we want to talk about today is all about going back and honoring the roots of our native script, Hangul. This project is called 뿌리깊은 프로젝트, which can be roughly translated as deep-rooted project. Korea's native script, Hangul, was created by King Sejong the Great in 1443. At the time, Korea was using Chinese characters, which the common people found very difficult to learn and use. King Sejong created Hangul to provide a much easier writing system better suited for the Korean language. Our project aim is to revive early Hangul designs following its creation in the 15th century up until the 20th century and make them into digital fonts we can use today. These designs were inspired and named after a selection of books produced by woodblock printing, the printing technology at the time. Through these woodblock prints, we can trace the changes in Hangul letter forms throughout history to become closer to what it looks like today. Now we're going to start from the beginning and talk about what these changes look like. Hangul was first distributed using woodblock printing, which is a printing method using blocks of wood with letters carved on it with a knife and chisel. As you can see, Hangul had a very geometric design consisting of basic shapes like triangles, circles, and rectangles. Hangul's geometric design shows that it was not affected by any particular writing tool. You can see how different the Chinese characters are in contrast, as it was heavily influenced by brush calligraphy. In the case of Chinese and Latin script, handwriting came first, which then influenced the following design of the type used for its printing method, such as the printing press. However, Hangul is unique that in its history is exactly the opposite. Printed letters came first, and then the people started using the script, so the handwritten version of the script, or Korean calligraphy, was developed later. As a result, the letter forms of the woodblock type gradually underwent changes influenced by handwriting. As a whole, the early designs are more geometric, and the later designs are more closely modeled after handwriting and brush calligraphy. There are two ways of categorizing these changes. One reason is a practical one. Fundamentally, the letter forms change so that they would be easier to write by hand. The earliest version of Hangul included geometrical components that were difficult to recreate with a brush. Therefore, changes were made to these components so they could be more efficiently transcribed. For example, these circular dots are very unnatural shape to write with a brush with a pointed tip. So this component changed into a bar-like stroke. Another example is this consonant graphemes. These originally had a very symmetrical structure. These shapes also gradually change in a way that reflects the natural path of the brush. The other reason for change could be explained as aesthetic changes, an effort to make the letter forms more balanced and pleasing to the eye. Each character in Hangul is a syllable block, and they're made out of consonant and vowel graphemes called chae. One notable characteristic of early Hangul is that each chae that make up a single syllable block take up as much space as possible in the available area. You could say that pure expression of each of these chae was prioritized over the overall balance of each character. Gradually, the structure of the letters progressed in a way that considered a sense of overall balance and stability. Each chae that make up a syllable block are now sized in relation to the other components around them. Other aesthetic choices, such as the serif-like details on the stroke ends, were also introduced to add a sense of dynamic movement to the letters. In conclusion, Hangul was created for the people, and its design was completed by the people, heavily influenced by the users of the script. Our deep-rooted project objective was to capture this progression of Hangul design throughout history, and we did this by creating a series of digital fonts.
So far, we've talked about the history behind our deep-rooted project. Now we will explain in detail how we designed the font to be suitable for the modern age. We had two main challenges we needed to solve. First challenge, writing dilution. The letters in our sources were designed to be written vertically. How will we adapt the original design to be suitable for horizontal typography? Second challenge, completing the glyph set. There are many characters that are not present in the original sources. How will we create these characters to complete the glyph set? We will start with the first challenge. Hangul, since its creation, was written in the vertical direction, even until the 20th century. This is a newspaper from the 1800s. As you can see, the body text is written vertically. It was intended to be read up and down and then right to left. However, if you look at modern usage of Hangul, it is mostly written horizontally. This shift to horizontal typography is actually recent. The first Korean newspaper to publish entirely horizontal typesetting did so in 1988. Horizontal writing direction follows on in square format. This means each character fits inside square of the same size. Vertical writing direction follows on out of square format. This means for each character, the square size can be different. When horizontal, the height of each character is important. Our characters need to look like they are around the same height. Some optical correction is used to achieve this. When vertical, the width of each character is important. The width needs to generally look the same. Also, the vertical strokes need to be aligned on the vertical baseline. Let's look at an example. The font on the left was designed for horizontal typesetting. If we wanted to make this font suitable for vertical typesetting, some sort of changes are needed. You need to redistribute the space around your letters so the letter align properly on the vertical baseline. What we did for our font is the opposite. We start with the vertical center. and change the structure so it will align horizontally. Let me give you an example. We put these vertical written characters side by side horizontally. You will notice it in the vertical version, but when you look at the horizontal one, the height and size of each character varies greatly. We made our font to be suitable for modern typesetting, which is mostly horizontal. In this image, you can see how the flow of the text and the overall proportion of the characters are affected because of the changes we made. Now we will talk about our second challenge. To make a complete Hangul font, you have to create at least 2,350 characters up to 11,172. During the production process, there were not that many letters we could bring back from our source material. We are going to show you how we made letters that didn't exist. If we chose these two characters as starting point for our design, we can use them in combination to derive other related characters. Another way was to analyze our sources to make educated guesses about the missing glyphs. The new designs are based on our knowledge of Korean calligraphy and the logic of related glyphs. This is how we solved our two problems and revived old Hangul design to be useful in the modern age. Our first font release was in 2018, on October 9th, which is Hangul Day in Korea. We release a new font every 3 months for the last 3 years. Currently, we have created 9 fonts out of our goal of 10. Our last font in the series will be released next January. Our project goal was to find roots of Hangul. We wanted to share this experience with as many people as possible, so we decided to distribute the font for free. So far, we have over 200,000 total downloads. And we have been seeing exciting and used examples for our font. Thank you for listening.
If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Can everyone hear us? Great. Now, we're just checking your questions from the chat. And yes, to answer Ken's question, we will provide a URL for downloading the fonts. We will figure out where to put that. And in terms of the Q&A, I believe that we are supposed to move over to the Hangout area to take the questions. So I guess we will do that now. Or we can just take the questions here. Great. Oh, okay, so the moderator have informed us that you can ask the questions right now, so we will take your questions and answer them right now. So we got a question from Rob. Is Hangul legible if use those circles like the original samples? Very good question.
Yes, it is. For the original samples, they are very geometric looking, but Koreans have no problem just reading them as normal. It's just kind of a style. It's just a stylistic choice, not a particularly something to have to do with legibility. A question, how do you integrate numeric glyphs for the system? The number glyphs is based on 숫자 같은 경우는 저희는 로만 숫자를 쓴다고 이렇게. 근데 한글에서는 처음에 숫자 했을 때는 어떻게 봐요? 처음에 기억이 아 이것도. Oh, thank you, Erin. Yes, we were about to explain that we just uses the Latin numerals in terms of the number system. Hi, I'm just going to discuss some things with Chae right here and come back. And we're back. And Erin asked us about the original designs originally intended to be writable with a stick on the ground. I think that's a really interesting theory. But what we basically meant to explain in our presentation was that how they might have intended to be written with a stick like that, but then because the wood types were continuously printed and they were updated in response to how they were influenced by brush calligraphy, I think that's why the wood blocks started changing from geometric form to a different form. I don't know if that answers your question. And I think it might be better if we move onto the Hangout space so we can kind of talk to one another and chat instead of us just saying and then you guys just asking us the questions by chat. So I think it'd be great if we can just move to that platform right now.